Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Socratic discussion, whose topic is design thinking. To start off, what is design thinking? So design thinking is basically the iterative process, which is the culmination of user centric problem solving using technology and scientific methods. So, um, before we dive deeper, we have two teams that have prepared pitches based on a problem statement that they selected, Team David Kelly and Team Simon, as you can see on your screens. So let's go ahead with the introduction of both the teams, starting from Team Simon.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Fardin Kamal and I'm a software developer at DeepThought.
Hello everyone, I am Anjika Garg. I've been working with Deep Thought as a UI designer for the past 4 months. Looking forward to this.
Hi everyone, I'm Maunika. I'm currently working in DeepThought as a developer in residence.
So hi everyone, this is Aditya. I work as a developer in decisions in DeepRock.
Hello, I am Soda. I am working on DeepThought as a developer residence.
Hi everyone, Anjali this side. I am working as a behavioral data analyst in DeepThought.
Great. So before we proceed any further, could you please describe why you picked your team names? Like what was the reasoning behind the names of the team that you picked?
We will go first. So we picked Simon. The Simon came from Harvard. Simon. He first mentioned design thinking in his book, The Science of the Artificial. So he's said like he's the founding father of this design thinking methodology.
Great. What about Team David Kelly?
So David Kelly is the first person to coin the term design thinking. So as we use the design thinking approach uh, in our problem statement, so we have named it after his.
Great. So without further ado, let's go ahead with each team's pitch. So let's start with Team Simon. Also, please note that the entire pitch should last for 2 to 3 minutes, with each person spending roughly about 30 seconds on their part. So yeah, keeping that in mind, let's start.
So Team Simon will go ahead. So I would first like to introduce the problem statement, which is that students are losing interest in learning new concepts, which lots of time results in low attendance and participation in workshops. So to go ahead with the design thinking process, first we would like to empathize with the users, right? Understand the students' perspectives, the challenges that they're facing in their learning by the process of interviews, surveys, and then also observe their reactions to the current learning lessons that we have, and identify points where they are not engaging and they're feeling, and we feel that we can have a better solution for that. And then we define the problem. The problem that we have defined is that people aren't interested or motivated because they don't see why the content matters to them, hence a lack of understanding the importance of learning. So then we move further on to need finding, where we are engaging with the students through surveys, interviews, and understanding their specific concerns. And we're asking why multiple times to uncover deeper issues, such as disconnect between curriculum and the disconnect between the curriculum and the real world applications, or the learning sessions might not be interesting, and not just focusing on the attendance, but on fostering genuine enthusiasm for learning. Fardeen, you can
Yeah.
take it.
To validate those claims, we will introduce different teaching methods and also bring external people. And secondly, we will validate assumptions about what motivates and engages students, analyzing those data. And thirdly, we will seek direct feedback from students and measuring the impact of the change that we did on bringing external people. And in the benchmarking uh, phase, we will research successful approaches in other educational settings, like other people have also faced the same problem. So we will approach them and try to get any solution. And in ideation phase, we will generate ideas for making learning sessions more interesting, like project showcase or real world case studies, etc. Also encouraging creative thinking about how their work is contributing to that bigger picture. And next, in prototyping stage, from those idea, we will generate lots of prototypes for with different learning methodologies, and we will test all of this in a small scale with small amount of people in the test environment. uh, Monica.
Yeah. So after giving a lot of prototypes and all, we will choose a best prototype or best idea from the prototype. So after taking it, we continuously take the feedback from the students, which method is more efficient, and making them more effective to participate in the workshops and learning new things and all. So after choosing a particular thing, particular idea, then we will implement that particular idea. And after implementing also, we will take a lot of feedbacks from the students in order to improve our product and all. And we will learn our mistakes from our product, what the student really wants and all. This is what we will do in our products.
Great. All right. So that was the pitch from Team Simon. Next, now we'll have questioning from Team David Kelly to Team Simon. So yeah, please feel free.
So my question is, how can you make sure that the students are actually engaging in your class? What are the steps that you will take to ensure that?
Like for participating, we will see the how they are participating in the class, like how they are answering to our questions which is asked by the teacher. And we will also see the performance of the in assessments, like how they are giving and we also see that if the so many students are attended to my class, then it is obviously it is engagement, right? So these are the parameters we will take.
So it doesn't actually mean if more students are editing, there can be other parameters also, right? There may be some they may come to the class because of the fear of attendance percentage, or there may be a presence from the external factors can also be affected, right? It doesn't actually always have to be translated that if the attendance is more, the students are engaged, right?
So I think that's why we didn't just mention the attendance, right? We also mentioned other factors like the engagement in terms of interactivity within the class. So if I'm asking 10 questions, how many people are actually responding to it? Is it just 2, 3 people who are continuously interacting with me, or is the whole class engaged? So there will be more factors ahead.
Yeah, okay. But how do you know how do you measure the data? How do you get the data like how many students have engaged? How do you do that in reality? How do you get this data of how many students have questioned you or how many students have given you the response? And when you ask some question in the class, some 20 students will give some answer. We don't know which student gave the answer, right? So I think it is difficult to collect the data in that sense. How can you collect the data?
So if we are actually doing experimentation on anything, we can have some person who is just there for collecting data, because here we are testing various teaching methods. So we can have some people who are just dedicated to observe what is going on, how much are people interacting, right? So that can be done.
So how do you define that it is a better approach than that of a conventional way?
Sorry, could you repeat?
How do you define that it is a better approach than that of a conventional way?
Than that of a conventional what?
Conventional teaching.
So anyways, in conventional teaching, right, people are taught a topic and then there is this assessment that is
Means,
done.
how did
Sorry. So in conventional teaching, you just have grades, right, that define if you are doing well. So we will explore various teaching methods where people are actually willing to attend those classes and actually willing to learn. In conventional teaching, when you go to schools, you are there for the attendance, you are there for the degree, right? But in our setting, it's not that case. We want people to actually want to learn. So that is the intention.
Saurabh, if you have any follow-up question, you can go ahead and then I'll.
No, please ask your question and
Yeah. So my question is, so what exactly is the core problem statement in the thing? Like,
Okay, our core problem statement is students are losing interest on learning, and that is resulting in low attendance and participation in courses and workshops that are happening.
losing interest is the core problem.
Yes.
Okay. So you have mentioned you will be, going through a lot of solutions and doing some creative study, case studies. How exactly all these examples is helping you with the problem statement? Isn't that being anyways done, as Saurabh mentioned, in a conventional setup? Teachers are experimenting, and
Yes. Right.
how that will, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
resolve
Right.
the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did experiment. Yeah. Right. They did all of discussions and stuff. But the problem here is they did not do their research with the students. What they did is all the like intellectual people came into a room and they discussed about something that this is the problem we have to solve, and they solved it with their assumptions. But what we are doing is we are taking the student, we are not just taking the teachers, but we are actually taking the students, understanding what is their problem, not just the symptoms, because users usually give us symptoms, not the core issues. We are taking the symptoms and we are coming up with the core problem and then solving it.
Okay. Here again, like, you said you will do some case, not case study, feedback and everything, and understand the core problem. Uh, does that solve, like, does that completely help you with identifying the core problem? Because as my team member, I think Aditya sort of mentioned that the core problem can change person to person, right? And it might be something that is engaging, it might be with the course, but how effectively can all of your design thinking approach help in resolving the again back to core problem, the engagement part? The result, this is a huge basically this is a huge group that we are discussing. This is a very broad concept that engagement is losing. Where exactly do you find that niche and then start with that niche core, instead of completely looking it as an engagement problem? Is there any other process for you to identify the exact core problem of this?
So before that, you said, I think there can be a common core problem, right? That is affecting a lot of people that are there, and that is leading to, a lack of motivation. So we can identify through the empathy stage, right? Identify the core problems and then define a problem statement that is actually there. And in the later stages, we are actually validating that, right? That have we chosen the right thing to go ahead with? So I think that can be helpful to answer, like to
So
go ahead.
now, does in that case, does your core problem now change from engagement to lack of motivation? Is it more refined, or I would like to understand, because engagement, as mentioned, like it's a very broad concept. So when we say lack of motivation,
Hmm.
narrow down or
So I think that was actually a part of the problem that I had defined, that people aren't interested, they're engaging less or they're less motivated because they don't see why the content matters to them. Right, and there is a lack of understanding the importance of learning. That was the core uh, problem that we had defined in the define stage. So I think that covers what you're saying.
okay. So yeah, I think my question is answered. Like I just needed to know the core problem. So you mentioned the lack of motivation and people not being able to connect with the uh, sessions that or the lessons that is being taken. That is the core problem.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions from Team David Kelly?
So what can be the steps that can be used, to, make the students to be engaged with you in the class?
Don't you think it's more on the solution side? Here we are discussing and how to get to that solution, right? The whole design thinking process. I think when we go to the design thinking process, we can reach a solution.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said in the last.
So I think I was saying that when we go through the whole design thinking process, then we can reach a solution. Here we can discuss on how to reach that solution, right? Through the process.
But isn't that, in ideation stage, we can only, move further when we get one solution?
Yeah. What is the question?
So my question is what, uh, your goal is to make the students to be engaged in the class. That will give them, some motivation to listen to more and more classes, right?
Hmm.
So how can you do it? My question is, how can you do that?
I think Aditya is basically trying to say what are the possible solutions you have ideated upon and what are you looking further to like fix on a particular solution.
Yeah.
We are our ideas like to give a interactive sessions, like providing activities in the classrooms or workshops, as well as use the Feynman techniques and Socratic questioning, so that the students able to understand easily, and they can also more interactively answer the questions which is asked by the teacher, so that they will learn peer to peer as well. So these are the things we will make to encourage to engage the students in the classrooms.
I have a follow-up question to that. So you mentioned there would be Feynman technique, there would be Socratic dialogue. So now again, these are a lot of solutions. Where is the narrowing down coming? Because as mentioned in teaching, you will have to keep on changing. So will design thinking actually help you in your problem statement? Because design thinking is about you finalizing a specific solution and then implementing that. And this might seem a lot based on assumption, because as of now, because of course you don't have the data, all of these things that you mentioned is rather based on assumption that this might work or that might work. Do you have a specific criteria to finalize that, okay, this will be the processes that we will use for the final step? Like, do you have any parameter that will uh, that will validate the Feynman technique or Socratic dialogue to be the right solution?
Okay. So like actually what we will during for starting the session, First of all, we will dream cell to our student. Okay, dream cell means in the sense like what they are going to achieve at the end of this session with the, and we will also with the help of activities. Then after we will go with the promise and consent. It comes under dream selling. Then after we will tease the content by using the Feynman technique. So we won't spoon feed to them. So we use a Socratic questioning so that they are able to come to the concept by themselves itself. Okay, we are not going to give entire solution that this is what this is what how it works and all everything. So they will able to understand, they will discover by themselves. So there will be so many eureka moments, right? So they use it to listen the class well whenever they have more eureka moments in the class. So this is the process we will usually follow in the classrooms, so to get more interactiveness, to get more engagement of the students.
And
Okay.
I want to add one thing. So design thinking is all about iterations, right? So we mentioned so many things we will do, like design thinking, Feynman technique, Socratic dialogue. We will not do all those things in one session, but we will try that. Okay, let's do Feynman technique today, and let's see how the class interacts. I mean, yeah, how the class behaves, like behaves, and then we will do Socratic dialogue, and then we will come up with a uh, system that will that has more more engagements. So yeah, that's the thing. So we will go with different sessions in different day and try to see like how they work in the classes.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Okay. I hope my audio is clear as soon as we do. Yeah. Okay, I got it. So again, like my question still stays there, like because you're providing lots of solution, won't you be stuck in the phase of ideation? Because you are prototyping, maybe you are prototyping, you're checking, and then you are testing another. So, and that is going to be a very tedious process, right? And students are going to have their exams, I mean, as days pass by. How will you be able to finalize on one specific solution? I mean, uh, you're experimenting with them and they
Yeah,
are
don't you think,
using their
yeah, don't you think,
time.
the single solution can you help you to focus on one particular thing and you won't be able to, confuse about all the solutions.
Hmm, exactly.
What percentage of people will like this product?
Saurabh, let them answer first and then
Okay.
you can follow.
Uh, so like, I mean, so you're telling me like instead of iterating through uh, all those different techniques, stick to one technique and try to see like if if that technique is working or not, and then proceed, something like that. Did I understand you?
Not exactly that. So basically, you are trying a lot of solutions. That is the part of ideation and prototyping, let's say. But post that, there is a choosing and implementation. I don't see that step being fulfilled in your process.
You are saying that we may be might in the stuck we may stuck in
Stuck.
the
Yeah.
prototyping and all, right? So
Yeah.
we will take we will use to prototype to get ideas. We will keep a one particular time bound to us, to time bound to try all these ideas and all, so that the students may also won't lose their exams. They also perform well in their exams as well. So this might be a solution for this.
Was your question answered, Anjali?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, time makes sense. With time, you will, within that time period. So you're keeping a deadline for your experimentation, and won't that tamper the experimentation? Like the thing about experiment is you are doing it with patience. You're not rushing with it, or you're not look running after a deadline because you want to know what actually works, and that might take time, might not take time. How exactly do you decide a specific timeline?
Okay, actually, we won't do the same experiment only for one students, one set of students. We will do same experiment over several set of students. So at the same time, for example, I'm taking a session for the students. So I'm using one Feynman technique here. Okay, the same set of Feynman technique used in other set of students as well. So we will cover large range of people, right? So we will get large type of inputs, then we will through this time on we will cover it and we will take it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. In due interest of time, I think we can move on to the next team speech followed by the questioning. So, Team David can go ahead.
Yeah. So our problem statement is, uh, when someone, teaching the class, the students were not able to, articulate the problem about the teacher. What is the problem with the teacher? They can't be able to articulate it properly, right? So based on the understanding from the student perspective, empathizing the student, the student will when he don't understand the class, you know he feel his self-esteem will be lower, and as he feel anxiety because he may not able to pass the exams, or his academic performance may reduce as he has not understanding any class. So so our definition of problem statement is, so we are unable to get the proper feedback from the student, and because of that we are unable to guide the teacher to act on that part. So what is the root cause of this, right? So in the need finding, the first step of the design thinking, the root cause is we are lacking proper feedback system and proper metrics to review the teachers. So to we create some particular rubrics, some parameters, and the teachers can be the student can be able to rate the teachers, just like we rate the food right after Zomato, right? So they can be easily rate the teacher based on particular parameters, and we can easily able to uh, find the what is the problem. Let's say the particular rating is low. Let's say for Socratic questioning parameter, we use some rubrics for that parameter, and let's say the rating is low on that particular parameter. We can identify that the teacher is lagging on that particular parameter, and we can assign an L&D to the teacher so that he will improve in the class, right? So that's about this need finding. So the Saurabh will continue for the diagnosis part.
So in diagnosis, we are creating some human simulation in the diagnosis part. We shared some Google form and all, and take data from the student how the teacher will perform in the class, because we give some parameters. This parameter will help us to identify the root cause of this of this of the teacher. What is the lacking segment of the teacher. So this is the basic diagnosis part. Second is, we are using some we are creating some, we are using brainstorming with this topic, and after that we finding some problem with this Google form. If the problem is not solved, then we create some brainstorming with our people, and give some idea to them how do you manage this class and that. So next first we'll go to Anjali.
Yeah, thanks, Saurav. So, as Saurav mentioned, like there will be brainstorming and we'll be coming across multiple solutions, multiple ideas, and post that the prototyping happens. So, in prototyping, we will be utilizing all these multiple solutions, creating a prototype which we will test with few students. And after we get the data from the prototype, after we get a proper analysis of how it worked for everyone, we will be choosing, or we will be finalizing a specific solution or the right parameters or the metrics which is effective, which is viable for the system that we are involved in. And once that is there, we'll be implementing the solution into the application and making sure that it is user friendly for the students. After all of that, the final learning. So we will be always keeping some room for improvement, for further feedback. The feedback loop will be constant so that as and when the students' requirement changes, their thought process changes, we are able to cater to their needs and we are upgrading our system accordingly. So that's the learning part of our solution. And yep, that's for Team David Kelly. Our ST pitch on design thinking is about the problem statement that is being faced by the students for not being able to uh, articulate well about the difficulties that they might face in the learning sector. Thank you.
Great. Questions from Team Simon, please go ahead.
You guys were talking about having parameters to judge the teacher, right? So could you elaborate more on what kind of parameters you're thinking about? How will those be made?
Initially, the parameters that we can think about, like the main parameters, right? One thing can be, the voice modulation of the teacher. This is stressing out the important parts, and the teacher has to know when to stress out the things and when to, lower his voice, right? That will automatically generate an engagement in the student. That's one. That's one parameter. Other parameter can be, Socratic dialogue. Socratic questioning. And the third parameter can be, Feynman technique, the communication skills, and so there can be multiple parameters. Initially, we take some parameters for the initial, stage, and from the prototyping and all, we can get more idea of what can be the good parameters and what can be the good rubrics also.
Just a thought, like how is Socratic questioning a parameter for the teachers?
Yeah, actually, if the teacher is using more Socratic questions in his class, that means when the more the questions, the more the student will think about it, right? So if the questions are more, that means the students are grasping the content more. They will think faster. So that can be one of the parameter, right?
Okay, a follow-up. So if I am a student who is rating the teacher on these mentioned parameters, then I might have not, identified these things, right? They might miss my mind because I'm a student. I'm more concentrated on what the teacher is speaking rather than how they are conducting the session and everything. So how will that work?
I mean, I think it's not so hard to identify, right? Whether a student is whether the teacher is, asking the questions or not. While we are teaching the class, we use this pedagogy, right? The way of teaching that we try to, make them come to the answer, make the students come to the answer by themselves to the question. So I don't think it will be, difficult for the students to grasp whether the, teacher is asking the questions or not.
Can I
I
add?
think, yeah.
So, like, the teacher's knowledge about the subject will also be one of the parameters. And as the Socratic dialogue will not be exactly specific metric, but it's rather in DT, I mean, in the college, it's a part of our pedagogy, and hence it is not going to be that difficult for students to identify because uh, the the subject that we are discussing here, the problem statement or the audience, the users that we are targeting or describing here is aware about ST as part of the teacher's pedagogy. So, yeah.
But are you planning to validate this assumption that students will be able to judge teachers on the mentioned parameter?
That thing will be not exactly forcing on them, but rather with the help of prototyping, we will be checking all these parameters before implementing it. So
We will teach the student what is Socratic dialogue, what is Feynman technique, what is the parameters to mention and the to fill the form. What is the parameter? Is this? Firstly, we have to teach them what is the parameter, what is the Socratic dialogue, what is the Feynman technique. After that, the student will take this knowledge, and after that they will give some data to us. That is the
Okay.
main.
Okay. But how are these parameters that you've mentioned helping the student to articulate the problem better to the teacher?
Yes, because before before there is a no plan. How do you rate a teacher? There is a no parameter. If there is a no parameter, so I think there is a no plan to make make the plan make the plan in reality. So if I gives them some plan as a parameter, so they can articulate the plan into a vision. So I think it's helped to student a lot.
Again,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would add, right? Our our problem statement is not only to make them articulate, right? It is also to make the teacher take the L&D on that part. So by these parameters, we will be able to narrow down that particular parameter where the teacher is requiring the L&D. So that should help narrow down the things, and we can train the teacher on that particular L&D, and he can improve on that particular part. So I think
Uh,
parameters in that sense can be helpful.
yeah, articulation is of course the problem, but to help them articulate we have to explain them what would be the parameters, and we are going to do the benchmarking wherein we will be focusing on different studies or case studies wherein people have done such practices, people have gathered such parameters. So it's not going to be a blind effort of just coming up few parameters. It's just few examples that we have right now. The more research that we do, we will get more parameters, and all of those parameters will not be just based on our assumption, but it is going to be something that we get from them as a feedback. So
um, a follow-up. So I'm just trying to understand on what is the the thinking when you're saying that we'll use Socratic dialogue, Feynman technique. In how is these things as parameters helping the students to articulate the problems better to a teacher if they're filling the form on these parameters, even if they're one or two? How is this helping them in articulating better?
So it's like a rating, right? Let's say there is a also along with the ratings, I should have added. I don't know whether I have added it before or not. So there is something called as rubrics. That's like our performance scorecard type of project. There will be predefined rubrics based on the rating. When the rating is between 1 to 4, we will make them show the particular rubric. They can select the particular rubrics. Like
Okay.
uh, there is some hierarchical order for that. So this should be helpful to along with the ratings, we would also be able to get the content, the data, the text form. We will be able to see what are the things that are able to they can rate it. Also, we can also give like along with this rating kind of thing, we can also make them give the custom feedback also, through which they can through the raw form they can express their concern. If there is nothing there in the parameter that they can't able to explain, we can also take the data from them with some other question, like you can some raw data can be taken along with the parameter.
Okay, a follow-up that the students are filling the form, right? And okay, the teachers might be getting the L&D required, but the students' problem still pertains, right? If they're not able to understand a particular concept, okay, the teacher will take L&D and improve their teaching methods, but they're still not able to understand that concept. So how does that form help?
Yeah, actually, in the implementation stage, we are thinking about, uh, there has to be an interactive window. Actually, it's not actually a Google form. It's actually an application, right? In the application, let's say the teacher will, uh, there's kind of interaction between the student and teacher through a chat window. whenever the student gives an review, I mean some consent ticket will be raised, some ticket system will rise. So the student can be able to chat, the teacher can be able to chat with the student through the chat window. And he can also, constantly stay in touch, and he can share the voice notes, about how to, how is he, explain the things on that. And the teacher can, and the student can be able to track the thing. Unless the student is satisfied with the progress of the teacher, then they will close the ticket. The student will close the ticket. So the student, it is a user-centric approach, right? So unless the student is satisfied, we are not closing the ticket. So the student is the main MVP, I mean, person here.
But why do we need the ticket? Can't the student just go to the teacher and ask?
I think it will be more accessible, I would say. But one more thing is, in the chatting system, we won't give, we can give anonymity in the student, anonymity of the student, because if the teacher knows who is the student that is, having concern, he may have some bias over him. Don't you think? So, so instead of, direct conversation, the chatting videos should be helpful for them to, address their concern.
Okay, that answers.
I have a question that you said that for better teaching experience, for better teaching, I'll give the L&D to the teachers, right? So how would you say that this L&D helps the teacher to perform very well in the classrooms, and the students will satisfied by these things? How you will believe, and how can you say that?
We will make
Yeah, sorry.
we will make the L&D as per the teaching of this kind of student that helps the student very well, because we design this L&D according to the student perspective. If there is a student physics, so there is a lots of Feynman technique is lots of Feynman techniques about physics. So we build some L&D, and we need to improve the teacher. So that's why there is a different segment. There is a physics segment, there is a engineering segment, there is a health and pharmacy segment. So there is a lots of segment. We design this L&D as per the stream, so they will be helpful for this. So I think I will answer. I have answered.
But you have said you have trained it very well to your teachers. But even though the student won't satisfied, then how? Then what you will do? For example, see, you are using the Feynman technique and Socratic question. Some people will say that, what is this? They are telling always live examples. They are not telling the content what is present in the textbooks. Some students may feel in this way, right? So there are so many perspective of the students, right? Some people like Feynman technique. Some people won't like it. So how you will do? How you will like modify your learning drills and all?
Okay.
We Anjali, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Arun. So, yeah, just coming back to Aditya's point, right? I mean, we are creating a ticket system wherein the students can keep on sharing their feedback until and unless that problem that the student is facing in the learning process is resolved. So, there is going to be some common grounds, right? At the end, that it's not like all students will, or like 50-50 students will dislike this and dislike that. In such a situation, that's why the design thinking process we are implementing in the choosing and implementation stage, wherein the prototyping that we discussed helps us to narrow down few of the parameters that actually works for them or the L&D process. And again, coming back to the learning stage of the final step of design thinking, which will help us to keep on improving. Our main product that we are creating is the ticket system, and we are selecting parameters so that students can articulate the problem. And with all these parameters, be it Feynman or ST, maybe few topics students like ST, maybe few topics students, like Feynman. I hope I'm clear and my audio and video is clear because my internet connection is not
Yeah,
good.
yeah, clear.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Monica?
Yeah, yeah.
I have a follow-up. So how is this ticketing system and the parameters interconnected? Could you explain that?
Aditya, would you like to take that question?
Can you repeat it?
How is
How
this
does the
ticketing system and the parameters interconnected?
So I don't think there is much interconnectivity. The connectivity will be like this. I would say the parameters are connected to the L&D, and L&D is connected to the chart system. I would say they are not directly connected. I would say. So based
Okay.
on the parameter, we will assign the L&D. So based on the L&D, the chat will be happening between the chat window will be between the teacher and the student.
So, if the main problem initially was articulation of a problem to a teacher. So, if I go to the ticketing thing, I can, chat with the teacher anonymously and get my problem resolved. So, where does the parameters come into place? Why do I need that for this problem?
So in the you are saying like in the chat window itself, can we implement the parameters, kind of thing, right? You're saying that
We
way.
don't need parameters now. We have the ticketing system and we can put a ticket that I didn't get this or I have this problem with this teacher and it is being resolved there. Where does the parameters come here? Why do we need it?
Can I answer?
Yeah, you can.
Thanks. So the thing is, if I am giving you an option to like maybe Anjika, you are a student, and then I tell you that you're going to have 10 lectures, and then I inform you that all these 10 lectures, whatever problem you have, you can use the chat box. You can go there and put your questions. How likely you are to go through all those lectures and think about the problem statement, rather than second option, if I give you a form and you have to just click radio buttons 1 to 10, 1 to 5, how the easiness, the accessibility, the feasibility of that product, and the chat box wherein you have so many things to write. Now to narrow down or everybody's feedback can be a tedious task, and for that proper filtering out or refining, we need few parameters which is already set. And beyond that parameters, if at all a student comes up, then that is going to be our second stage of design thinking, wherein we implement, we prototype, and then check with other students and then implement that parameter as well. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Follow. So, don't you think getting the right feedback is a different problem statement, and making the student comfortable enough to share a problem is a different problem statement, which the ticketing system is solving. But the parameters and the feedback can be different problem statement.
So our initial problem statement was that we eventually regressed because you all wanted to know how the L&D and everything works. But even the initial problem statement was that we want to resolve the articulation problem that the students are having, which we are doing by refining or choosing the parameters. That is said there. That's the entire design thinking discussion or the pitch that we had. The second part of that is what we discussed right now with the L&D or the ticket system, etc., etc.
So, what can you explain the articulation problem? What is it?
Okay, so articulation, why we said that is the problem with students to just share. Teacher didn't take that, and then they would be like, what exactly was that point? I'm not able to understand, but something was off. This would be the general nature, because students are not knowing what parameters mean or what pedagogy styles are for different teachers. So we are using an application wherein we are teaching the students on how a good teaching is. That itself is a information, that itself is a knowledge for them, and with that they can make better decisions, better articulation comes. So when we say we are giving an aid to articulation, we are actually teaching them how to articulate, so with few parameters and not making it a big verbal.
Okay. Because what I understood was that articulation in the sense that they're not very comfortable in sharing the problem with the teacher.
Oh, okay. No,
So
it's
is that also a case?
it's both the case, right? I mean, the comfortness and the easiness for people to communicate what they are facing problem. They might not get the right words, so all of those comes under the problem. Yeah.
Suppose you want to buy something from Flipkart, okay? Suppose you want to buy something from Flipkart, but you don't know the name of the product. Okay. So you want to search, but you don't know the product name. Okay. There is a section of filter or category section. Okay. There is a men's clothing, women's clothing, kids clothing. So you know the product will be in the kids section. You go the kids section and find the products. So this parameter helps to find out what is the main problem of it. Okay.
Right.
All right, guys. I think in the interest of time, we can uh go ahead with our reflections. It's already 7:26. So I hope all your questions were answered. And yes, let's start with our reflections, right? So who would like to go ahead first? We'll have three reflections.
So my reflection would be like, actually this is one of this, this pitch is similar to the one of our product that we are building on. So this discussion is so helpful for me to, work on our project more. Even Mitali is one of our team. So this will help us, this clarified so many doubts, and we have got to know some points from Fardin, Monica, and Ankita. So this will be helpful for us to know, refine our product more better.
Okay. All right. Who's going next?
Okay, I'll go next with my reflection. So, observing this SD, I noticed certain things. For example, when Monica asked a question, how are you going to cater to different needs, like different type of people's needs? And Anjali answered, there is some commonality. So that made me think, okay, if they are in a classroom, if we have like 40 to 50 people or 100 people in a classroom, they are in a classroom, they are in a certain kind of setup. So they are trained to think in a certain way. So that might bring up some kind of commonality in them. So same with every like any other situations like setups as well. For example, if there is an organizations or uh, an institution, there will be some commonality because they are all a part of the same thing and they all are might be following something. And second thing I realized is that when we are answering or when we are questioning or even listening, it is so important to articulate whatever we are saying so that it gets directly into the head of the other person so that they can understand well and the conversation can be more productive, I guess. So that's what I learned today.
That's great. Uh, who's going next? Okay, I'll go with mine. So observing this SD, I think one thing that got very clear in my mind is how difficult it is to teaching in general. It's a very subjective thing, and that's why like it's very hard to like place some hard and fast parameters on it on the methodology because there are a lot of variables at play. But irrespective of that, I think both the teams did a good job of navigating through the problem. And yeah, I think it was a pretty informative session overall. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. So I think one of the important things that I learned that Mitali also talked about in articulation was that the way you speak, the words that you choose define the way you think about things. So, so that, and we've also learned that companies have their huge mission statements, vision statements, and they choose their words very, very precisely because they shaped how the company forms. So I think that was one of the major, takeaways that I have.
Okay, great. Who's next? Someone from Team David Kelly, perhaps. Saurav, would you like to go ahead with your reflection?
Yeah, I
Okay.
I have learned some good topic about the Aditya's project. There is a lots of terminologies find from the Aditya's project. There's a good project I have ever seen. So that's all.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to share like a reflection. Uh, Even though we discussed about it's similar to Angad's point. We discussed a lot about design thinking and narrowing down to a core problem, narrowing down to a core solution. The teaching, pedagogy itself is such wide, uh, profession, or it's a such a wide field that multiple design thinking might be required, but this process itself helps a lot into you know structurizing or making the pedagogy system stronger. And that's something that I learned, I mean, through our discussion through Team Simons or Team David Kelly's, that everyone is focusing on to making the pedagogy better and better. And it doesn't matter how many ever design thinking we have to try, but we keep getting better. So that is something I got as a takeaway. Yeah.
Next, I'll go in. Actually, by through this SD, I learned a lot. Like user centric, like empathy is very important for solving a particular problem. So, Tarun always used to use that. We should not build a technology and make the students or people use that. We have to go with the users perspective, then build the product based on it. So, design thinking helped me to understand the user's perspective in different ways. So as of now, we gone through different scenarios of students where they have facing a problem. One of just now, just before I have mentioned that there may be a 50-50 chances. Some students may like Feynman technique, some students may not like. So there may be so many perspectives comes in to think in a user's perspective. So I learned a lot. Again, something through this SD. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go last. So, people are not engaging in workshops. It's a like real problem statement that we are working on, and I hope this design thinking will help us get the clarity. And I'd like to thank Team David Kelly for bringing up that timing thing. Like we don't really consider timing in design thinking. We just think we'd have to iterate, and come up with solution. But we always overlook this timing thing, and if we don't keep this timing in mind, we will fall like in a constant loop of just iterating, but not coming up with any solutions. So thank you guys.
Great. So now that we're done with all the reflections, I think I would like to conclude this successful SD. Uh, and congratulations to both the teams for pitching. It was a really informative session. And yes, thank you everyone on the stream for watching. So yeah, have a good night, guys.
Yeah, good night and happy Sunday.